After what must feel like a very long regular season for these 10 players coming into this matchup, it's finally time for HSEL Nationals. My name's Infernosis, joined here by my good friend Binks, aka Zayden, and we are looking forward to a really great showcase matchup here between Evergreen Valley, aka Cougar Esports, against Colony High, aka The Colony, aka also a Cougar Esport team. But we'll get it all sorted. It's The Colony. That's such a darn cool name, and they have a bit of history here, Zayden.
Yes, they certainly do. We've seen that these teams have actually met before, but I think we can't even go and start to take away from the fact that both these, I'm still a little bit taken back by two Cougar sort of mascots. And we talked a little bit earlier in the green room of us having similar mascots within our own high schools. And it seems like if there's already a good matchup with the mascots, I think we're in for a pretty good match.
Yeah, I mean, it's felines are apparently a very popular mascot choice, whether it's tigers, lions, or cougars, right? It's cats, and it's because they have a lot of ferocity, a lot of anger pent up, and they're ready to strike and coil when necessary. And whether or not you're the king of the jungle or king of the Sahara, it does not matter. You're here in the esport world right now for our six to take and steal this day away. And for the Colony, that's going to be a very important one because they're now facing off against the number 2 nationally seeded team of Evergreen Valley, aka Cougar Esports. And while they may be quite the distance away from San Jose, California, away from Colony, Texas, you're still looking at a team that has beaten you 2-1 previously in the spring season, and a team that came into spring this spring is their first season and went undefeated throughout it. So you're looking at this and you're saying, this is a scary team. We know they're a scary team. They've beaten us before, but we're hopefully have that staff behind us in our program to teach us and guide us and evolve our gameplay so we can make up for those mistakes we made in that 2-1 loss and try to turn it into a victory this time around.
And I'm always one to say you cannot count the number 6 seed or whatever seed out of it just yet. Because the moment you get to playoffs in any sport, and I do a lot of work in hockey, and with hockey you get a lot more tension, you get a lot more ferocity, as we just mentioned, with every single matchup. And something I'm looking for from the Colony is that X variable, where, for example, if you're coming in here as Evergreen Valley, you might not expect as much of a matchup as you're going to get, or dare I say it, you might be thinking maybe we could save strats. And I think the number 6 seed has a lot of ability to catch their opponent off guard. And I think it can make for a really interesting dynamic as you really got to get the ball rolling.
And you can't look at seeds as just being this end-all be-all because, I mean, they beat out Colony 2-1. But then they also became the Spring Major 24 champions by taking Blue Valley, who were the number 4 seed 2-0. They didn't even need that third game with a positive 21-round differential across all their regular season games. They didn't just win, they dominated in a pretty wide margin when you only need 7 to win a game. Getting 21 rounds over your opponents is an unbelievable stat line. So you can't just look at the seeding because they took down number 4 2-0. They took down number 6 2-1. So I would hope to believe that this means either Evergreen Valley just are not the best team against this Colony side, or Colony just happen to be built a very specific way with their strategies. Their play style is just one specific ideology that is a little bit too tough or too tricky for Evergreen on certain maps to play into. I'm not sure what exactly it is here, but I know for a fact this game here is going to be one of the most entertaining ones we have, and we have plenty more to come throughout the remainder of this weekend.
We certainly do, and I feel like it just comes back to more of a rock, paper, scissors sort of mentality. And if one team has your number, that's just something you just got to figure out. And luckily, it's not an end-all, be-all in almost every single scenario. But for each of these high schools having a very solid program, it's really cool. And for years that these programs have actually been in HSEL. Spring 24 was the first season for Evergreen Valley, and all the way back for the Colony, they've been in here for a year and a half, which is absolutely staggering for me. And, you know, Scott, my high school never even had any sort of esports program, club, team, you name it. And of course, I'm up in the beautiful north of Canada, but if they were look for any sort of program, as an American, do you have any tips and tricks?
for programs to create an even better program. There's lots of ways to
Yeah.
create really good programs. They even have a sponsor actually for HSEL. It's Valor. If you're looking to elevate your school's esports training, the Valor training platform offers a premier experience tailored for players at all levels. Valor's platform ensures effective skill development and progress tracking with structured roadmaps, categorized learning, and interactive quizzes. Generation Esports schools who join Valor before June 30th will actually receive the summer holiday period free, giving students the perfect opportunity to train and level up during the break. Power your esport athletes with Valor's superior training and educational support. Don't miss out. Book a call with HSEL or MSEL rep to learn more today. It's just a great way to create an even better program for your high schools or even your middle schools, since MSEL is also involved to elevate your program to the next level.
I just think it's absolutely wonderful to have this sort of opportunity in high school, and for especially for students that don't necessarily know how to get involved, it gives you an immediate in, and opportunity is the number one thing that I think everyone should have access to. So big props, and very happy to be working with HSCL on this.
Yeah, there's never a better place to start esports than in high school. And while you could start gaming way before that, I remember the first time I held a mouse, the first time I held a controller, it sparked something within the younger generation. It sparked something within kids. And having that spark, having that drive, whether or not it be a controller, a mouse and keyboard, a football, a soccer ball, whatever it may be, having something that drives that child to be competitive, have something that drives them to compete with a team, that's great building exercises for, I'll be a little boomerish here, the real world later on in their life, right? It helps them build up for something more. And there's plenty of real world activities within gaming as well, whether or not you're in a booth like me and Binks here, or you're out there behind a prod booth, or maybe you're up on a stage building up the lights for a show, whatever it is. There's a lot in esports you can be actively involved in. And HSCL creates groundwork. They can play as players. They go to college, get graduate degrees while playing and competing at the highest level with scholarships, might I add? Because I have tons of friends who've gotten scholarships and made tons of friends who are actively getting their scholarships for gaming. Parents, there's never a better time to let your kid maybe not skip out on homework, but get involved with an esport program at your high school.
Yeah, I was one of the kids where my parents always said, okay, well, you can't play video games during the week. Do you know what I did instead?
Play video games during the week.
You got it. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Sorry, they didn't find my handheld. I hid underneath the underneath my pillowcase at night. Yeah, no, my parents are very supportive of gaming, thankfully.
Like I my favorite one. So me and my older brother both had a Nintendo DS, and my parents would always come and check, and I made sure, oh, it's right there sitting on the table. Okay, we'll be taking this away. Take it out of the room. The moment they leave, out comes the other one, ready to go. Is hopefully the audience knows what a Nintendo DS was, like the little one. Man,
yeah. My father would call it the Game Boy DS, but I guess that was like the first name for it initially. Not the Game Boy. The Game Boy DS was actually the initial name, and he would just call it that all the time just to annoy me. I was like, no, it's just a DS. The Game Boy's different. And then he's like, no, look at the document. Either way, parents, they get on your nerves sometimes, but you can get on your parents' nerves and say gaming got me somewhere in college because I have a scholarship, and that means I could just play games as much as I want. And there's a lot of really great programs out there at the college level that you can look into, like your big Fisher programs, your big, Bay State, your big Boise's, right? And while even if you can't get into those, the fact of the matter is esports being started at the community college level, it feels like, for real programs to get out of the club stage and into a program level, and then you start to see those big universities step into it. While there may be more funding for those bigger universities, those smaller programs are still just as accoladed, still just as good, and at some of the highest levels you'll see some community college build-up programs step into a league and then they place 10th out of like 500 and they're the only club team at that level. You can perform esports and compete at esports no matter what. So pick your college, get your scholarships if you can. And if you're taking in and winning prize pools at the national levels for HSEL, you're going to be doing it anyways, right? That's the whole point of it at this time. So look into it, find some more, check out every possible outlook you can look into for scholarships, for applying for programs, put your name out there. Go to hsel.gg and you can learn even more about, what HSEL is going to offer you and give you assistance wise, right? You want to be involved, then you got to actively pursue that and be involved more than just in the game, more than just on the first map we have stepping into this one today here, Binks, more than just Chalet, right? You want to be involved out there in the real world as well to make sure that your potential, your future is guaranteed and you can continue to doing what you love, which I'm assuming is probably gaming Though not many R6 players will admit they love R6. That's just how players are for R6.
They'll say, no, I'm not going to play this. And you go and look at their previously played
3,000 hours.
No, I hate it. No, I don't play R6.
Don't check my stats.
You just go and look at their
I have way too many hours.
Oh man, I joined the lobby and like, oh, sorry guys, I'm getting back into it because I'm a original console player and I got ripped a new one for my level, which was way too high. But it's a lot of fun. And as you mentioned, Chalet being our first map, that is actually one of the original maps in the game, and it has undergone a lot of changes since then. But I still think the dynamic that new Chalet brings is a really fascinating one, especially with the changing levels of verticality.
Yeah, Chalet happens to be my favorite map. I have 300 hours on the test server, and those purely for the Siege 2.0 when they released the big update. That was the same update that Chalet's rework actually came through. All of that was on the Chalet-only map rework on that playlist. This map is just a different level of R6, and it feels like a different level of R6, and it's because of the different levels and, like you said, verticality that's been created with the floorboards across nearly every objective except for basement. There are still verticality options on that basement site, but it's everywhere else verticality. Sometimes you wouldn't assume you'd work bottom up, but that's really what you have to do on Chalet, because main entrance, not west main entrance, but main entrance, Fireplace Hall, has an open mezzanine. It's not just a floor above your head. It's an open concept room, a lounge room, where you have to be very worried about players up on mezzanine, very worried about that office soft wall if it's been reinforced or left soft. You got to worry about default cam placed up in the western corner. You have to keep your eye out for where these players may be, so you have to look up, top to down, down to top, and make sure that every angle you're checking is perfect. Because if you fail to do your drone work and you fail to do the prep work that your team is needing you to do, your teammate's going to get shot in the back of the head. They're going to get shot through, and you're going to be one player down on a really important execution, because these side spinks are dangerous, man. It's some of the hardest objectives in R6 to take without actually having the player count to do so. You can be at a 5 versus 2 and still lose out on the attack for these rounds. That's how important it is to get that lead early and to shut down those defensive presences as quick as you can, and ensure that you can dump that utility on site to clear the defensive utility, because even just a normal shield on top of piano can stall your attack for another 60 seconds, and time is your biggest enemy.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a lot of balancing between your information game, making sure that you're actually using it, managing your drones, and actually execution. And something that I always find myself emphasizing, especially with Rainbow Six players, is how relevant information works. It doesn't really work to drone yourself unless you're closing off an area. You need to make sure that if you're getting information, you're acting on it within the next 3 seconds. Even if they're anchoring an angle, you need to make sure you know what sort of exit routes they have, especially on Chalet. The rotations you can make, the main one that comes to my mind is right around piano, office, and master bedroom. There's so many ways you can use the closet, intricate ways to mess with your opponent, that if you have the attackers watching it, that's how you close off the defense, and that's exactly how you go and give yourself that extra edge to take a site.
Yeah, a lot of the times you'll notice down in basement, it's considered the secondary side of choice to go through Winery and Snowmobile Garage, but some teams still opt instead to go towards master bedroom and office, and that's where you'll see a big difference between upper echelon teams and well-placed, good, solid teams and rosters. Basement is a very hard to defend site, but it's also just as difficult to attack. The architecture of the basement in the first place, just the overall outlay of it, makes it difficult for both sides against each other, which means you're both playing into the same difficulty, and as a defender, you're still going to be at the advantage, forcing them to come to you. But the upstairs side, you've got big window that can cut off T-Hall. You can cut off both approaches. You have a great step in through Solarium. You don't really have to concern yourself that much with that mezzanine side, because no one's going to extend out that way. Just clear library. You'll take mezzanine swiftly, and you go break down that office wall. It's macro games that turn into this micro game upstairs, and downstairs, it's just a micro game. It's just that tit for tat, just that util dump for util dump, in a very straightforward gunfight where you have the ability to swing at your timing, at your speed on the defense. That should give you that little bit of an edge. But we have our ban phase going forward right now. It does look like Ying will be taken off the board. Not surprising for the map of Chalet, followed up by Montaigne, which is a little bit more of a shocker, but this does shut down that Snowmobile Garage entrance that a lot of teams will opt to go for. And then on the defense, Solus, who else? The nerf hasn't gone through just yet. You can go ahead and remove her. A little bit too strong for this day in the game, because that information, Binks, is just too darn difficult.
I've definitely noticed it, and I think we could see that the pulse comes out. But the thing with pulse, you have great ways to counter, and I think it's just very different. But Fenrir, another operator that we've really seen increase in, especially in banning, and I'm not surprised that carries over into the high school scene, is just being able to go and control your opponent's line of sight on a map like Chalet. Seems a bit broken to me.
It's a little bit too
I'm more
powerful.
looking. Oh, yeah, a little bit, just a little bit. And I think there is good ways to counter, but the main thing that I'm looking for now is if you have all your hard breach available, how are you best going to utilize your ability to switch and progress in more of a meaningful way. And with the first sight of Master Bedroom Office, you're more looking for Ace, Hibana, just opening up for as many rotations as possible. And I'm curious if we'll get the Thermite to ever have to deal with any sort of Kaid tricking where you just place the Thermite charge on the ground, but that's a very old trick that I'm not even sure if it's still utilized.
I don't even know if it even works effectively here on that mezzanine office wall.
Yeah, because normally you do that to get rid of the bandit wire, and then you place a second one, or it's.
I don't think most teams opt though, because when you play Thermite, your typical choice is that you need both hard breaches. You need to place one on that mezzanine wall, and then you need to place one on, if it's available, you need to place one on the Solarium wall, right? Because you're typically, if you're bringing Thermite, you're thinking of it as your main hard breacher. But Evergreen have gone instead, at least for now, until they attack or repick. If they decide to attack or repick, they have the Ace, which means they have multiple Selmas. They can toss those out. You can toss that from that veranda window, from big window on mezzanine. You can toss it out into office. You can then peek through office to help your team out. And you can drone after that and let your entry actually step through that office door instead. It gives multiple options from a safer distance, which is arguably favorable than having your Thermite basically face check up to that mezzanine hard wall and pray that there's not going to be a player swinging out through green, off onto mezzanine, peeking around through library in case you fail to clear that 100% effectively. And you're also very visible on the backup, on the step back from top of blue stairs. So safety is your #1 priority, and Evergreen are picking a very obvious safe choice for their operator selection to make sure they can get that wall down. As you do see some drone work coming out from Lux to make sure they have safety up on that balcony. You do see a player top of mezzanine with the Kiba barricade. That's going to give them a lot of safe information. They can peek the top of stairs. It also gives them a Kiba barricade to hide behind within library, but unfortunately that's not placed in the normal default position, which means they'll be a little bit more in danger on the approach up to that Kiba barricade. But the Flores Rotero Jones do not care. They're going to destroy him anyways here, Binks.
Yeah, Lux also able to get the opening kill onto Lightning Bolts. And it's a great bit of drone work here from Evergreen to start off this round, and great use of the Flores to help clear libraries. Lux able to capture a second kill, and I think that's largely in part to this drone, which is working absolute wonders by Mezzanine. And now with a minute and 35 seconds to go, it's much easier to go and warrant turning a lot of your control towards sight, especially that 2v5. But exactly how you mentioned, you can't count them out yet. If we can even have that Gladiator is able to properly manage their angles, we could see a little bit more of a peak as making their way through Piano. It's going to be a contented and contested angle, as Diffuser still has not had a chance to go down. Exotic now finally having a chance to go for it.
Very good attempt there from Gladiator.
Yeah.
Think about the dangers there. You have to step through the fire that's left behind, right? From your, I'm totally blanking on the utility name for some reason. Your Goyo canisters, the Vulcan canisters, I think it's technically what they're called.
That's what it was.
You have to step through the fire, the flames of that, and you also had to deal with the shield that was placed on Piano. I mentioned it takes about 60 seconds for some teams to clear through that, but your player that's behind Piano needs assistance, and I didn't see enough of that assistance from Colony's side defensively inside of that T-Hall, and a lot of that could be because Evergreen opted to clear out the main window barricade, but I didn't see that happen. I didn't see a player on the rappel there. I didn't see that extension to that side. It was very one-dimensional. They took Green Hall, they took Ivy, I should say, they swung door, they took control over of office with an easy breach. Colony just kind of fell under themselves, and it led into this problem of, we're giving up one kill, we're giving up two. How do we recover? One player stuck in no man's land. We can't bring assistance. They're doomed to die. They have to pray for a one-on-one and win the one-on-one. But they're going to die after that anyways. So it's kind of this, at least when you're ones, if they can't do that, you're now stuck in a 3-player deficit. And when that happens, it's almost the scenario of GG go next, where you just say, okay, let's look at how they got through us. Let's look at where our weak point was in our defense, where the steel needs to be hammered a little bit more, needs to be tempered a little bit more, and say, Evergreen really like Ivy. They really like taking mezzanine, as teams should, and they had no one extending elsewhere. Let's stack up a little bit more presence on T-Hall. Let's put a castle barricade on big window. That would be probably the best method to actually defend that master bedroom window. And then once it breaks, we'll know to rotate out of there and sit more so inside a master bathroom, where we can then jump out of window, push somebody on highway that's maybe standing outside piano window, and just start to tap those players down for Evergreen and get that player count back in our favor. But lacking that castle, it could be really rough for Colony here once again. It doesn't seem like too much is really going to change for them if they don't start to make those adjustments.
Yeah, one player I want to highlight is Lux, who's been doing absolute working wonders with this drone. Tone can be the first eliminated for this round. Boxfish also trying to make an entry, but it seems like the extension of Colony is working quite well at immediately slowing things down. I do really enjoy the play of Yoshi that we're having, as I feel like this downstairs presence, we saw the Buck working from it down below last round, so low diff is going to have a little bit more of a challenge. I'm interested to see how Lux is going to adapt and potentially drone for their team in this sort of circumstance, unless I could be very well mistaken.
I think they live pinged it. Lurs will see. We'll know. Yoshimi now their second kill of the round, and the only kill still that Colony have actually managed to gain for themselves. You can see this extension still on the first floor, just off of Fireplace Hall and inside of Bar, has created this level of danger for Evergreen. They're not really too sure about where these players are 100% lying, and they're not ever sure it's totally ever safe. I do find it quite an interesting defense when they still have barricades up and waiting to leave up one of the walls of office. When the difficulty was the speed and tempo of which we saw Evergreen secure Ivy and secure Mezzanine, Colony giving over that space so freely could be quite rough. But Silex gets a 1-for-1, trades it back afterwards, and gets the kill in the same fell swoop. Now leading to an only 3 versus 2. Evergreen left with Lux, who has done well in the first round and continues to do so, in Exotic Boxfish, who's doing just as well into the final 55 seconds.
Now it all comes down to information. Do you have the proper intel on your opponent? Especially for the defenders, they need to know what angles they need to be most aware of. Boxfish has done a great job of positioning themselves, and those exfoliating bolts could do wonders for getting to the site. Lux with a very meaningful kill onto Lightning Bolt. Bring us back down to a 2v2. It's all about getting at this site. 25 seconds. You know that the adrenaline starts to kick in here. You got to be prompt, but you need to be cold and calculated. Exotic Boxfish will do just that, grabbing a kill. Traded backs out by Gladiator, playing inside Piano behind the shield. Has the angle, has to wait for plant. 17 seconds. You don't want to overexpose yourself, but you don't want to give your opponent enough room to play with. Spraying up from behind the shield, looking for it, and Boxfish will find it, giving Evergreen their second round.
Evergreen had to work for this one. They had so many difficulties early. Colony doing exactly what they needed to, finding those first blood, staying safe afterwards, not allowing a refrag instantly, and maintaining that player advantage for as long as possible. But the difficulty still came. Evergreen just gunned better in the final 60 seconds. One player inside office still stacked up behind your one solid wall, your one reinforced wall, with an open sightline to Mezzanine on the right side, and then just directly to your right, one wall over off a corner, a direct sightline through to Ivy Hall on top of Blue Stairs. That is a doomed position. That is an impossible position you are forcing yourself to stay within. And Evergreen, despite not playing the best position to fight that, which would be to have a double swing, one from Ivy, one from Mezzanine perfectly, they didn't have drones to know that. So they ego check it with your gridlock in a one-on-one, an Exotic Boxfish. Well, they watch as Lux takes them down. And that is a perfect execution for Evergreen. It comes down to a simple 2v2. And that's where Evergreen is thriving. Yes, a shot from Gladiator behind Piano. But you know where they are past that point. They cannot step forward. And the fire bolts you send upon them, Exotic Boxfish, keeps them trapped and waiting. It's as simple as stepping into sight and swinging the main office door. Great round for Evergreen. Now the defense of Colony says, okay, maybe Master Bedroom in Office isn't our parlay. Let's head down to basement and see if Winery and Snowmobile Garage will be any different for us.
I'm interested to see how this double hard breach sort of mentality will work out. 6 also taking the ace and exotic bachfish, moving over towards the thermite. Personally, I'm a huge fan of thermite. As a OG player, I feel thermite's probably my favorite, just for base game reasons. But what I'm really interested in is how they're going to allocate their proper resources. Gladiator taking a good bit of damage relatively early. Good thing they're the doc. They'll be able to heal themselves all the way back up to full. But this has been a very prompt start of the round for Evergreen, where they have the information. They clearly have an idea of getting towards site. And I think cutting off the colony is going to be a great way to start, as we saw the colony really thrive with their ability to move last round.
Very important positioning wise for Xylix to stay alive. We saw them break down the initial wall off towards fire. Campfire, I should say, the spawn point off on that north side. Now Evergreen, with Xylix's job being done, have essentially a second entry here. Zeta, where they can sit back, they can hide a little bit, they can engage early in these firefights. Their Selmas, their job is done. The only other use for the Selma would be go up to kitchen and break through that hatch if it was reinforced. No one's really checking there for the side of Colony. There's not going to be any defense off inside Blue Hall. Instead, they were playing heavy inside Snowmobile Garage, and Exotic Bachfish didn't even need to plant the thermite on Garage. Instead, it's a direct approach into sight. Winery's free from the taking for Evergreen, and it's an execution of Colony everywhere you look. Yoshimi, last standing, and it's not for much longer. Evergreen, 3 rounds in a row in a defensive powerhouse that is nowhere to be seen. Colony, they build up one side and Evergreen take the other. This is an attacking map for sure, but Evergreen are finding it a little too easy, and Colony need to make those adjustments. We saw them do it in round 2, and it was that much closer. Can they do it again for round 4?
They'll be going back to Wine Cellar, so we'll have to see. One thing I really need to highlight there, Scott, was just Evergreen's ability to distract, and not to mention their flank watch. We saw Zilix go and up the stairs to recheck, make sure to take care of the Azami in every single circumstance. This is a team that clearly is communicating as they're executing. And that is one of the hardest pieces of the puzzle to understand. Where one thing I always try to emphasize for players is make sure that if you're scrimming or if you're just playing against each other, watching a VOD, if you can pause and say, what are you doing and why? If you can always have an active mind rather than a reactive mind, it's exactly what you need, especially on that attack. Every single player had a purpose, knew what they were going for, and that's as clean as an execution as you can really get for Wine Cellar. Phenomenal job. And I really want to see on the other side of things for Colony, it's about more adapting, making sure that you're changing up your operator selection, maybe taking people who's going to selectively slow down your opponent. Trap operators can do a great job at this. Legion, if you think the round's going to go a little bit longer. Now, I typically say Fenrir, but of course that's not an option. But you can also go for different type of scare tactic operators like Mira, where you're forcing and making players take that extra bit of time. It's all about considering what your opponents bring to the table and that same rock, paper, scissors mentality. How are you going to counter it?
Colony needs to break things down slowly, right? And that means forcing Evergreen to play slower. Look at the difference between round 1 and round 2. Evergreen can control the site. They get into the objective. They just start cutting down Colony players left and right. There is a much different pacing and tempo between round 1 and 2, and they need to replicate that going into round 4, between round 3 of the quick expedited pursuit of Evergreen into Winehouse, and then hopefully around 4 that's a whole lot slower, forcing them to head elsewhere, forcing them to changing your extensions, your roamers for Colony. And yeah, Fenrir is not available. You don't have the ability to close off sightlines as easily, but you also don't have to peek certain sightlines. To keep a barricade on blue stairs would have shut down Xylix, which would have meant you'd have 3 players still standing at this point in time. But they're not anymore. Xylix has stepped into sight. They've got box. They've gotten 3. And Colony are left with just Blurs and Yoshimi standing, the 2 top frags for Colony. But 4 more of Evergreen stand before them, and Xylix isn't done. They want all 5. Will they get it? They will. It's an ace for Evergreen.
How do you let that happen? Just an absolute show of force. Taking me back to the golden days of Ash. Making me feel like she's still 5-speed. Zilix having the ability to get into sight, use the information, and snap to where they're expecting players to be. A beautiful, beautiful show of force. And that is one that will leave the colony shaking.
That's a round that's hard to recover from mentally. Right?
I mean, timeout. You need a timeout at that point.
You need a timeout. Yeah, I think there is a timeout, right? Or is this just a loading?
I think it's a lucky loading right now, but
gives you a little bit of time. You'll take it. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, the mental battle is probably the most important battle in high school, right? You're still developing. You're still coming to terms and understanding your place in your team and how you want to play the game, your role in your game, right? Some players have to step into a team and they've already got their roles filled, and they have to step into a different system, a new idea, a new approach. That's especially the case when we start to get middle school teams in and they start having programs, and you step into high school and now it's totally different because you've had multiple middle schools feeding into the same school, and you've got to fill gaps where necessary, step into a second team, step up to a leader role maybe, communicate and guide. If you mentally are struggling already against Evergreen, you need to take a timeout. You need to go ahead and sit things out, because you see pro teams all the time in Valorant come back from a 11-1 half. You see it in R6, a 5-1 split, which is fairly common, but still a 4-round difference heading into the second half, and teams still come back from that and find themselves with victory at the end of the day. Colony, it's all a mental battle for them. If they still envision that this is their game, the fundamentals have just failed them, and they just need to step back to them a little bit more static, a little bit stronger. Everything will start to pan out for you. But Gladiator, that's quite unlucky. We finally see Big Window in office be contested by Evergreen. Xylix steps up, and the LMG meta has come back in full force, it seems. Gladiator had no chance. The fire was too darn good, and the drone work for Evergreen knew exactly where they were. First blood, first 20 seconds, it seems.
It's about knowing which players you have and having players like Xylix to go and put pressure onto their opponent, force that sort of rotation into an unwelcoming angle. And we're seeing this on different levels. And just constantly rotating around in Xylix, switching and just playing on the LMG, grabbing their second, looking for their third of the round. They'll finally be shut down by the lightning bolt. That's a quick zap. Kazi also able to go and capture. We're back down to a 3v3 match with a minute 45, but the pace of Evergreen has not seemingly been stalled out just yet.
They still have a lot ahead of them. The blurs being spotted and taking a huge look at damage will ensure that Evergreen know there's one more player that's just a couple more tip-taps away and getting that player advantage back in your favor. As he will rotate up through Solarium into Master Bathroom. And you'll see this Evergreen roster just start to re-solidify this attacking position. They want to make sure Mezzanine's under control, and they've got a full 75 seconds to do it at this point in time. But that's where Exotic steps up to the plate. 1 and 2, hunting for a third. Kazi now spotted off towards the bathroom entrance. Can Exotic Boxfish take the angle? They can. Executing Kazi where they lie. And Evergreen Valley now up to 5 before halftime. 1 round away from a perfect split.
It's astonishing. Evergreen Valley's ability to adapt on the fly. Their ability to hear information and not just have it go in one ear, out the other, but to process and utilize it. That is a critical skill that is important in any single line of work. And I'm just very, very amazed by it. But we can go and start with the start of that round. Xylix pushing in, getting that quick kill on double window. All that does is flood a whole bunch of comms and chaos on the side of the colony to say, oh, we got to watch double window, double window. What do? Don't even waste the time to continue holding that window. Immediately rotate, apply pressure somewhere else. It's all about forcing the defenders in this circumstance to go and make their own mistakes, make their own moves that plays right into Evergreen. The information for the colony just is not there to be able to shut it down, which is, yes, it was a very unfortunate kill to start off the round, but it was just the ability to maintain that pressure that really helped Evergreen over that hump. And we did see a good pushback from the colony, but it's all about maintaining that and being very well aware of the angles, especially on that master bedroom site.
As well for Evergreen, I'll point out one of the terms that I love best. It's phantom pressure. You talked about it. The big window control of master bedroom. You're constantly worried about it now. I used to highlight it as a variable. You don't know if it's going to be played. It's an unseen variable. Will they go back to it? Will they take this angle instead? Where will they be coming from? It's phantom pressure. It's creating that question, that turmoil in the mind of the defenders. And Colony, they reared it, and they had to face it. And it looks like, well, they tried to go a little bit cheeky in this round. Blurs maybe with an extension they shouldn't have. Pays the price accordingly. It's now a 5v4 for Evergreen, who are already sitting 5-0 in this half. Even giving them a player advantage here, not the best look. And it's just a matter of trying to steal that back. Honestly, Colony, extend from sight. Take the angles through a blue. Defend it with a Kiba barricade. Place it. You didn't bring one, but you probably should have after you saw how quickly Xylex took it just 3 rounds prior. You need to be playing to your strengths, and this is the strengths of Xylex. 0 recoil with the LMG at range. It's insane. Or is this an AR? I would say a 50 mag. I'd call it an LMG. Let's just highlight it as such. With that range, that distance, there's no recoil, and it's Evergreen coming up big with the kill feed. 4 versus 2 now, finally losing ton. Lux also now being felled, but a player just around the corner. It's Exotic's Boxfish to steal, and only Yoshimi. They've gone for the extension here, Zayden. They wanted it, but the team needed to be with it. And now Low Diff with the diffuser down could stand up for a full 3 in a 1v3 as it's all up to Yoshimi and they can't get it done. Exotic's Bachfish 89, what a name, takes it with the R4C, and that's a half dominated by Evergreen Valley 6-0.
How do you come back from this? That's the question that you need to start asking. If it's not your map pick, then you can go and scratch it off. In a best of 3, you're not necessarily supposed to win your map pick. It doesn't mean you're not going to try. But for Evergreen Valley to just have that ability to make an immediate impact, to rush in to that degree, it needs to come down to a trap being sprung by the Colony, and that's just something hard. That's very, very hard to set up on the fly. And perhaps that's the way the meta is. Perhaps as we go into this transition, we can see a good bit of rounds from the Colony to go and get themselves back into it. Maybe not to win this match, but to win back their mental game. The mental fortitude is so very imperative. And you mentioned being important at the high school level. I think it's imperative at every single level. And I've seen it extremely important at the university level as you have all these different deadlines that you're managing. This is a busy time of school. And for these players to come and still allocate this type of time, I'm looking forward to see how they use it, how they're going to go and change up their play style. If we go and look to roles on the side of the Colony, we have what looked to start off as a double hard breach. I like the change to the Dokumi, and I want them to play for as much information as possible. I want them to make sure they have every single bit of idea of where Evergreen is going to be playing. That way they can use it and manipulate the map now to their favor. Stop allowing Evergreen to go and take that space and actively try to show and possess a certain space. If you're going for an extension, make it very clear what extension you're going for and play into that mentality, that flip mindset, making sure you have the rotate routes back. If you're ever doing an extension, you never just think about where you're going, think about where you've been and where you can get back to. You always need to be thinking with that 2-step mindset. The moment you lose that mindset, hate to break it to you, that roam turns into a game of luck.
A lot of what Evergreen have done on the attack can now be paralleled to the defense. Effective gunfights. They're not picking gunfights that don't favor them, right? I mean, they know exactly where they need to aim. They know exactly where the defense were lying, and now it's, we were just there. How would we have played it? And maybe more specifically, how will Colony play it? Because the expectation is that they're going to be a different team, a different play style. We're going to counter that efficiently. Evergreen looking pretty good on the defense. They set up the castle barricade on Big Window. They did exactly what I mentioned about setting up those barricades and ensuring that they could slow down Colony and give them that little bit of time to ensure that they're safer and they can step away from space. But Lux, the castle, they don't get the same lap of luxury. Down they go, and Low Diff will join them not too much later. Finally, Xylex finding a frag back, but they lose their teammate Exotic Boxfish. Xylex having to pick themselves back up, and it's an execution for Evergreen this time. Colony had double angles to contend with, space that was invariably theirs, and they knew exactly where they had to step in from. Solarium was their win condition, and Evergreen gave it to them in stride.
Gotta highlight to play the Bucka Blix there. Absolutely incredible, just constantly moving around and using your positioning. And I want to highlight putting yourself into certain corners, allowing for a defender rotating back. They have a lot more angles to check and they have a lot less information than you do. Great positioning. And it really led to the Colony having a lot more of an impact in that round. We are going to see a reattempt at Master Bedroom. I do support this as I feel it's going to be a little bit of micro adaptations for Evergreen, but it is a very great show of force and good to see signs of life from the Colony in such a dominant sort of mentality. Maybe this is going to turn into an entirely attacking landscape. It wouldn't be the first time, especially for me, where I see two teams struggling on the defensive end.
It is Chalet. This is arguably one of the most attacker favored maps in R6, and while that's not the same for EU, it is for NA. And you'd expect high school and collegiate teams, because I call it trickle down stratonomics. I'm sure you've heard me say it before. Here's Aiden.
Certainly have.
Starts in the pro level, steps to semi-pro, falls to collegiate, and then it'll hit high school and middle school. It follows a flow. It trickles down to the lower levels. That's why you'll see it be a little bit slow to contend with. When pros start to find a map fall more to the defense, you won't see the same thing for high school. You won't see the same thing for collegiate for a little while after. But R6 has been pretty quick, arguably, I would say, in comparison to, say, Valorant or even League of Legends, right? I mean, R6 is pretty darn quick for the collegiate level to step into pro scene. And I would maybe argue it's because coaches watch the pro scene near religiously for R6. I've talked to a lot of university coaches. They love watching the pro scene, and they will steal as many things as humanly possible, as quick as possible, and the very next day bring it into a team strategy, staying up overnight to utilize it. You gotta hope that high school has the same level of hype behind it.
It's very relatable to university football even, where you see a lot of looking at your opponent and you're playing to your opponent while also trying to maintain your identity and your strengths. And it's really cool to see how these teams match up against each other. And Rainbow Six is no different, where you're doing that extra research and a coach can do a whole bunch. And I like that we have Yoshimi here doing a great job to provide live droning information using that blitz. It's a really interesting use of the operator, and great to see that shield rework being very well utilized. And this could be the exact amount of active information that the Colony needs to go and make an active interpretation. But I like to see that this mirror window is being brought, and the fact that they have not been able to squeeze out this one wide just yet. Great job by Zix to just maintain time pressure. And I just want to see they stay alive until around a minute 30, and I'd be very happy with this Roman. If they get a frag, even better.
Evergreen have a great extension right now, bar none. This is exactly what Colony were not facing last round because they took Solarium direct, and now they're facing. Evergreen didn't change too much. They said they're not going to play Solarium twice. They're going to assume we play to counter. And because of that, we're going to play normally. Blurs, nice shot in the chat. Apparently really liking what was brought against them. Exotic Buckfish finishing the job with a smoke canister. And the second with the SMG-11. It's only Lightning Bolt left. And it's not going to happen with the bearing. Exotic Buckfish with the SMG in the secondary, just the same as you. Finds the distance, chases you down in Evergreen Valley. Not a perfect game, but a near perfect game. 6, then 7-1, Zayden. That is a gorgeous game of Chalet. You love to see it here in the HSEL Nationals.
It really is, and I think it's going to set the tone for our future matchups. We're going to Cafe next, and before we get around to that point, I'm finding myself very, very shocked with Evergreen Valley's ability to take active roles and take very active sort of mindsets. And we've been talking about it throughout the entire match, but I think if we want to go and wrap it up neatly in sort of a box of a call, I go and argue that Evergreen did a great job of going and pushing the Colony to make moves that they didn't want to make. And my number one tip going into this break would be for the Colony to look at how they can go and push back, how they can stand up to the Evergreen Valley Cougars. I want them to, especially on a map like Cafe, they should be looking at how they can be preventing any sort of rush, any sort of mass dump of utility that Evergreen would want to throw at them. Comfortability is going to be key in this next match.
Talk a lot about how important individuals are in a team, but you need the team to do it. But sometimes you need that one very important piece to make sure that it functions. A lot of times you'll say it's your quarterback for football, but it's a bunch of gamers here. Let's talk about it as in computer terms. You could be your RAM, you could be the GPU, you could be the motherboard, but nothing's happening without the brain. Nothing's happening without that CPU, right? And as a team leader, you are that CPU. You are computing everything. You are building everything from the ground up to make sure it functions as a whole. And if you're not doing that well enough, you're going to find yourself capsized. And whether that's a mental battle you play with yourself, saying, I really need to make these adjustments, no matter what it is in the day, if you're a team leader, you should always be thinking, even if you're winning every game 7-0, you should always be thinking, what can I do better? How can I improve that? And that's why that team leader role is so darn important. You got to be that processor. You got to be that CPU. And speaking of CPUs, we can talk about Intel. The sponsor is here for HSEL Nationals. The High School Esports League is brought to you by Intel. Thanks to Intel's support, HSEL is able to offer high school students across the nation an unparalleled esports experience. From cutting-edge technology to thrilling competitions, Intel is fueling the future of high school esports. Discover how Intel sparks innovation and pushes the boundaries of possibility at Intel.com. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. Servers are having a little bit of an issue. We'll keep you guys updated on that one, but stay tuned for more. Let's see how this game comes to a conclusion, or if Colony can bring this one back. See you guys soon.
Welcome to HSEL Nationals 2024, presented by Oakley. HSEL Nationals is coming to Midwest Fest June 7 through 9, and you can grab tickets right now. Here's just a sample of what you can expect by attending. 1, the best high school esports student athletes in the nation battling it out over 3 days to see who becomes the undisputed national champion. 2, an Apex Legends tournament featuring the best schools from HSEL and anyone brave enough to stand against them. 3, Supernova Retro Arcade. 4, dance your heart out and feel the rhythm, because Casey Bemini is bringing your favorite rhythm games here to Midwest Fest. And last but not least, giveaways. Just by attending Midwest Fest, you'll be entered into one of HCL National's numerous giveaways. And you can increase your entries by completing various objectives around the festival. All of these things and so much more are what you can expect by attending HCL Nationals at Midwest Fest. It all goes down June 7th through the 9th, live in Kansas City. Join us and see for yourself who will lift the trident.
Hello there, gamers and mental health enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into a groundbreaking study that explores the intersection of scholarly gaming and mental health education, and how it can impact the self-esteem of adolescents. Picture this: a world where scholarly gaming isn't just about mastering technology-based career skills or dominating the world of video game business. No, it's a world where gaming becomes a gateway to improving mental health. 3 visionary educators and a school-based health intervention expert came together to create a curriculum that aligns with academic guidelines from the International Society for Technology Education. This curriculum spans 40 lessons, delivered over 14 weeks with a minimum of 120 minutes per week. But here's the twist: 83 schools were invited to participate, but they were divided into 2 groups, those with mental health moments and those without. The non-mental health moment group got the scholarly gaming curriculum alone, while the mental health moment group got an extra layer of education. Mental health moments were embedded into 27 lessons, integrating concepts from the PERMA framework and the Collaborative Academic Social and Emotional Learning Standards, otherwise known as CASEL. Now, let's meet our players. 471 participants from both groups, with almost 75% in high school, many experiencing scholarly gaming for the first time. A majority were male, and the racial diversity was broad. At the start, the average self-esteem score was 17.9, with 22.1% reporting low self-esteem. But hold on, the game's just beginning. As the study progressed, it revealed some fascinating results. While 57.7% of participants with low self-esteem at the beginning reported average self-esteem post-intervention, the Mental Health Moments group stole the spotlight. Self-esteem scores improved by 8.3% in the Mental Health Moments group, compared to no change in the non-Mental Health Moments group. How's that for a power-up? Some students even shifted from abnormally low self-esteem scores to normal ranges. The message is loud and clear. Educators, healthcare providers, and adolescent advocates pay attention. Non-traditional educational instructions, like scholarly gaming, combined with mental health moments, can significantly improve students' well-being. And there you have it, a journey through the power of scholarly gaming and mental health moments. Remember, your self-esteem matters, and sometimes all it takes is a little extra support to level up. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. Until next time, keep gaming, keep learning, And most importantly, keep believing in yourself. They say the right tools can get any job done. We agree. Introducing Blueprint, a platform for educators built by educators. Blueprint is user-friendly, featuring drag-and-drop scheduling tools and a robust gradebook. Designed for the scholastic world, Blueprint empowers educators to create powerful course content. Plus, Blueprint is the exclusive provider of the popular Gaming Concepts curriculum. Learn more about how to gain access to Blueprint today.
All of these different types of kids can come together and they work together, and it's just so fun to see them winning together. So my name is Lori Burney. I'm with Geyer High School and from Denton, Texas, so part of Denton ISD. There is a future in it. You can go to school and get a scholarship with it. You can go into so many different areas and aspects of esports, leads to game design, computer science fields, and I just think that it's pretty limitless, what they could do. And it's our job as the adults and the educators to kind of, help guide them through, these different avenues that they want to go through and explore. Now our district has passed a bond where they're actually going to put $500,000 towards building esport labs in all of our 5 zones. So we're really excited about that and how they're going to build it out. And that may never have happened had this group not have persisted and kept at it to continue to play and put Geyer, Texas or Den, Texas on the map. Me coming from the outside, not ever playing Rocket League, but taking the time to sit back and learn and absorb as much as I could, it wasn't hard for me to see all of the different aspects that transcend, just beyond, esports in general. It goes across every plane.
People
Bomb located by attackers. Attackers are activating the diffuser.
HSEL Nationals continues. And Evergreen dominated the first map of Chalet. Let's be totally honest here. 7-1. Yes, they started off in the attack. They got a big lead, frankly, because of that. It is an attacker favorite map here, Binks. But 6-0 at halftime. It's typically 4-2. You don't see all 6 fall to one side. And we saw a great one round from Colony to try to peek in and give us a glimpse of what they're capable of. But the drought was too far in the first half, and it was too much to overcome in the second. Now, the second map of the day. Is this going to be any different? I'd have to assume so. This is a very split map. 3-3 is typically what you expect for this map. Maybe you'd give it to the defense by 2% in the grand myopic scope of R6 as a whole. But it's a very even map. Will Clubhouse change anything for Colony? Will Evergreen just continue the dominance they've been showing us?
I think the first variable we're going to have to talk about is Xylex. Absolute dominating performance in that first map. And if that continues, I don't think there's any hope for the Colony. Xylex's ability to just continue to maneuver around every single site, and we don't have the insights into how the team is supporting them. So there's definitely another layer to it about how you're going to shut that down. But you cannot let Xylex just continue to walk anywhere that they see fit, especially when it comes down to that objective, especially when it comes to taking a speedy entry into the map. And I think Cafe is a lot better for that, where you have a lot more ability in areas where you can contest and close off a little bit more buffer spaces. But that is going to be the first step for the Colony to have to deal with.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things to talk about with the two possible upcoming maps, right? Cafe, we have to see it. It's a top-down approach. You go to the rooftop, you breach in, you play in, and you pray that they're not throwing a nitro cell up through the breach the moment you go forward. I go for some crazy Hail Mary, quite literally, with a nitro cell to knock down 2 or 3 or even all of your team, because everyone heads to the roof and everyone tries to do the dirty work early and work that top down. But for Clubhouse, you're taking a very multi-directional approach into the objective. The only time you see a very one-dimensional approach is typically going to be that direct CCTV approach. Through double wall, you have to get control off towards highway, which is that balcony side directly outside of gym and master bedroom in construction. But you only put one player there on that side, and you maybe put an OSA shield up on window to construction, and then the rest, you just pivot control of CCTV. You do not let them through that, and then it just becomes a little bit of a battle, a little bit of a back and forth with utility to breach down that double wall of eastern subroof, to breach down that CCTV wall, and then to get control of garage. It's very much so you take the eastern side of the map, and that's what you do, plain and simple. Every other objective, you want to take gym, you want to take master bedroom, you're breaking through Logi hatch, you're breaking inside of jacuzzi walls so you can get control of outer hall, you're stepping into construction, you're still taking cash and CCTV. Nothing changes, but you've added in multiple directions, multiple steps, and that slows down the attack. And with how speedy both of these teams look like they wanted to be on the attack, I think Clubhouse is going to be a very big change up for them, and I don't expect to see the same level of success we saw from Xylex in comparison, but it's going to require that Colony shut that player down, because if they fail, Xylex is going to continue to do what Xylex does best, it seems. Step on in, a little bit of assistance from a drone, a little bit of assistance with phantom pressure elsewhere, and the rest gun up and kills up. It's just a really good strategy from Evergreen. Let your beast feed. Otherwise, Colony have to make the adjustments to fix that.
Yeah, the other sort of general tip that I like to give is making sure you have a balance between your team audio in one ear and your game audio in the other. And that's not to say you keep them separate. I want to make that very clear. It means that what you got to be doing is getting set up properly where you can hear your team and hear the game to a T. Where if you're concerned about that phantom pressure, a lot of times it can be given away from even the slightest audio cue with where you are. Understanding how the sound, and I know we can blame sound for a lot in this game, but it can give you a really big edge. And hearing that rappel down off the window, if you maintain that quiet after the chaos with a quick call, can make all the difference in knowing, okay, maybe there's not someone on the double window right now. We can go and shift our presence elsewhere. And that's going to be extremely important when we're going over towards a bar. And having multiple windows all around Cocktail, if you're watching and concerned about those, we should be good. Going into this ban phase, Scott, anyone that you're really looking for?
If I'm calling you, I'm target banning. Plain and simple. There are some really important bans.
They were switching off a lot of, like, there was a great amount of depth on the side of
that
Evergreen with who
but
was
I'd be
playing
target
what.
banning Xylex specifically. They're going to go for early default. Dogabee's knocked out. You'd expect maybe Hibana here to get rid of the hatch spam that's going to go down in for basement defense. Colony not opting to ban that first means Evergreen could try to get a lead early by leaving Hibana up and then utilizing it themselves. So maybe you'd go for something else like taking off a Ashe or a Zofia to be a little cheeky. No, they like the Montaigne removed. I'm actually not surprised too much about that
I don't
either.
blame them.
They didn't want to face it on map 1. They're not going to want to face it here either.
And I think it can play into their style of rotation or just wanting to make sure they can force those gunfights. Blitz is a lot easier to deal with in that sort of scenario. And Zombie being banned out, not too much of a surprise to me, especially as you go towards kitchen and bar. You don't want to have to deal with any extra sort of barriers being thrown into your way. For this final one, I think we could probably expect a default in Fenrir once again, but I'm hoping for a little bit of a change up.
Well, Zombie being knocked off is very surprising.
Oh, saw it. Yeah.
You don't want to deal with it up in rafters for Garage. That's where Zombie's biggest success is. And also setting up the Keepa barricades in Master Bedroom. Both of those sites very annoying to fight back against. On Basement, it's good, but it's not the best thing in the world. Knocking that off, good choice. Solus, though, for a map of Clubhouse, you're going to have to drone everything anyways, and you're going to have to save those drones. And if you're finding that you're running out of drones in the late game, which for Colony, I think was the case, they were running out of drones in their 2 attacking rounds we saw, but they were a little bit better than Evergreen because round 2 for Evergreen, which is the closest round we saw Colony get to in that first half where it came down to a 1v1 in the final few moments, Evergreen had 2 players standing in a 2v3 and 0 drones between the both of them. Everyone having been destroyed. There was 1 drone still standing off somewhere in the map, somewhere, someplace in Chalet. And now you're looking at it going, we need to keep the drones alive. Let's get rid of a Solus. Prioritize it for a much thinner map, much less wide map for this architecture on the first and second floor. We're going to try to keep them up for as long as possible, get those visuals, and play for it. I think it's a wise decision. Also, to start Master Bedroom and Jam is a very wise decision for Colony. Do not test CCTV. Head to basement after this. Even if you fail on this site, head to basement next. It is the easiest objective, arguably, in all of our 6 bar Outback. But that map's not even played. So you can maybe say Oregon instead. Oregon basement would maybe be like 5% easier than this. The basement on Clubhouse is really darn easy to defend. And that forces Evergreen to play a different style, and I think they'd have to take dirt very expeditiously and rely on Xylix to take that space. Which I think if you shut down Xylix, like we've said, just shut down a whole lot of Evergreen.
An operator that we're seeing for the first time in this matchup is going to be the Ying from Exotic Boxfish. Ying was banned out in the first map for good reason. It's a very pesky operator, and with no Jaeger or Wamai being taken on the side of the Colony, those Candela canisters could wreak absolute havoc and make for the perfect entry for Evergreen. Interested to see how exactly it's going to come into play. Also, Fenrir making their debut into this matchup as they were also banned out in this first match. So good to see the bans being switched out and actual operator usage. So there's a lot of different layers. And one thing I love about this bedroom is the way you can use these exterior walls not to get immediately into sight, but to show so much more pressure. No Thatcher being selected. You're going to have to rely on those Twitch drones, which should be relatively feasible. But you got to continue to pinch towards the site. And the first step to that is going to be the cached room as Zilix is spraying, trying to find the castle, but not having any success yet as the outer 60 wall is going to finally be destroyed, and Yoshimi going to get the opening kill onto Xylix. That's a huge opening frag and really opens things up for the Colony.
Colony doing a great job on this extension off towards Cash and Evergreen. They have to play into it. You need to get control of construction, and the only way to do so effectively is to clear out Cash first, which means you're going to have a very dangerous approach in towards side. A double swing from Tun and Exotic Boxfish. Tun, unfortunately, it's 2 kills to the side of Evergreen. And now Colony in a very rough spot. Exotic Boxfish will be picked back up on that extension in behind them. You had 2 players watching top of red stairs and 2 players in Cash, and you still find Colony losing out the gunfight in an effective 1v2 on an already damaged player on the rush into CCTV. It's something that Colony will have to reevaluate come the next time they attempt this objective. Ton already inside construction, teammate not too far behind. Exotic will be felled as they try to step off towards Logi. Lodiff will have to be the second player to extend into this space. Blurs knocking off Lux, and it's only Low Diff now standing. A great swing off towards Sight, and Blurs no longer a point of contention as Colony left, still with that player advantage. The sightlines will be a whole lot more taut, and you gotta hit your shots, Low Diff. But Kazi fires first, and the Vector fires fast. It's Colony coming up with the first round win defensively here in the Mappa Clubhouse.
Great show force from Colony. You could really see a lot of comfortability inside of that site. And you mentioned how it's a great place to start. Now we go over to Church, where it's an even easier, as you said, site to be defending. One thing I loved about that sort of defense that we had from Colony was their ability to use their rooms for buffer. The coverage that they did have, they were using those angles to know exactly where they had to contend Evergreen. That started all the way out in their extension into Cash and CC, where they knew exactly where they had to get ready for, and there was not, the lack of information didn't really come into play, where you had the window, Xylex first of all, not able to find that in initial frag, and I think this turned the favor. And there was a great bounce back from Evergreen. They did a great job trying to go and snag it back, but ultimately just not enough. And even later in the round, as we saw a few attempted rotates from the players on Evergreen, I want to see more of a two-sided, two-pronged approach, especially even though there's a mirror there. Half the time, forcing that wall open outside Jacuzzi is a great form of phantom pressure, as you mentioned, and that could be a way to go and shift Colony in the same way you did on Chalet to pressure them into making a decision that they did not initially want to make.
One thing I'll point out is that the great thing about Ubisoft recently is they're not deciding to nerf a bunch of operators to try to change how operator ban phases go. Instead, what they've opted to do here is just make a bunch of really darn good defenders, so you're forced to ban 2 and you're leaving still 4 or 5 almost must ban options still remaining on the board. Choosing to take down Solus and choosing to take down Azami leaves up that Fenrir, leaves up the Valkyrie, leaves up the Mira for taking. And while you don't see Fenrir in every round, is sometimes the objective architecture and just the map area that you're going to be claiming isn't super great for the Dreadnought mines. Every other objective will have that prowess to be utilized and will be so darn good at it. And Colony, they made great use of it last round. They used every piece of their kit effectively, and they took down Evergreen with the final 2v1 to ensure it. But now Xylex, the player they shut down first to ensure they put Evergreen on the back burners, has got the first blood this time instead, off to Blurs, who could not escape as a Doc. And now Yoshimi is facing the same fate, relegated to cam duty, as Low Diff gets a wonderful shot off, and Exotic does the same. Xylex ripping through another. It's a 5v1! We're 60 seconds into the round! Gladiator has to fight for their life. The Vector, barely enough ammo and a mag for 2, but it doesn't. Firefight inside, just behind table. They're having to rush away from Church. Hiding and tucked away in Memorial Room. Ton, you can plant here. There's no utility feasibly on site that could damage you. A free plant to force the time constraints for Gladiator. This is a team that wants the kill, and they'll eventually find it. TSLW. Exotic Boxfish. Down goes Gladiator.
Felt like that round was over in a second, Scott, and it was all from the mirage, I want to call it, the distraction of Xylex, where even I found myself getting lost in the sauce, as Xylex did a great job. Initial impact inside garage, rotating down towards blue, and we can see all these defenders. You can look, and we have the luxury of seeing the outlines. One line of sight looking right from the Mira into blue, waiting to see if anyone comes downstairs. You have the other one going in, looking from the ammo crates inside of armory. All from those different rotations and everyone being focused. All right, we know where they are. We got to go and try to shut this player down. They shifted too many of their resources to the point where Evergreen Valley could just go and accelerate every single other element of the game, spring the trap towards sight, and just an absolute collapse. Low Diff doing a great job utilizing that verticality from the hatch, catching players off guard. It was just a beautiful execution. I'm a huge fan of it, but I need to see from the Colony, cool, calm, collected, only allocating resources when you need to. That's going to be the make or break, especially in this third round.
I don't like seeing Colony step away from basement. I'll be totally honest with you. I am a huge person, and you should know this. You casted with me way back when. I hate saying the same objective twice. And I'll even use the phrase I used to say back then. It breeds a level of complacency that I just hate in the game of R6. It's complacent. It's you're not changing anything 9 times out of 10, but I don't think you needed to change anything for Colony, honestly. I didn't see enough of your defense there to argue against what you had. It's just Evergreen's Xylix created a first blood and then became a 5v4 on site. And then you were too concerned about the active pressure coming from either secret or through oil that you then had to be too pressed towards blue and everyone else caught you off guard. If you realize that was the problem and your team stays focused, locked in, if you want to say, for this current generation of kids, right? If you stay locked in, the defensive round becomes yours very quickly after that. And it's so much more difficult for any player in Evergreen to find a frag. I think you play back to basement again. And if you're playing this site, it's still a really attacker-favored objective. It's a hard-pressed one for defenders. I don't know why you would go for it when you were already losing out on basement. You just need to do it twice. Hit the nail on the head again.
One thing I'm interested for, especially on this round, we got the CC wall opened early. Most of the time you'll see teams open it up, rotate around, and only leave a single player. They're leaving 2 players to watch that CC wall. First player to go down is going to be Exotic, as Lightning Bolts is going to be lit up to a critical amount of HP. Continuing to hold this CC wall. I'm a bit curious here. I want to go and emphasize the utility that's available on this side of the Colony. No nitros being available for any throwing, only barbed wire from the Kaid, and that's not going to do much. As soon as they go for this plant, there's relatively little you can do as you're being held, and that's exactly what's going to be done by Tones, as there's going to be a commit from the other side, as even the Twitch and low dip is going to continue to pressure. Xylix able to capture their kill. There's a triple kill for Xylix as they're able to spring onto site. Tones able to capture one. Down to a 1v4, make their way up red stairs. Lightning is going to get caught up by Xylix, and another collapse as Evergreen takes the lead.
Xylix has created this difference for Evergreen. Low diff difference? I don't know, it's trying to bring in a different player name into it as well. Xylix is this end-all be-all for Evergreen, and that's a lot of why you saw round 1 turn out the way it did for Colony. They shut down Xylix early. That was the first blood, and the rest of the team, I won't say running around like a chicken with their head cut off. They still have purpose. They still have, the intent in towards sight. It was a solid enough attempt into the objective, but the difference in effectiveness was obviously there. When they let Xylix go crazy, the team goes crazy. And that's what individuals can make for a team. That's what a difference maker can be for a team. I talked about, being the Intel CPU of your roster, right? Being that core processor and dividing up roles for your team and deciding how you're going to play it out and positioning. It's important, but sometimes you got to let the dog off the leash, right? You got to let them run free in the yard. And that's exactly what I think they've done for Xylix. They toned them in for the first 20, maybe 30 seconds in some of these rounds, hardly even that. And they get them information, and then they say, we got a drone on you. That's the best we're going to do for you. It's all up to you from here, dog. And Xylix steps up to the plate, and it's a home run every single time. Evergreen up 2-1, as you would expect, with Xylix going crazy in it. It's 3 rounds in. They died in the first without getting anything, and they're still 6-2.
5 seconds to go.
That's crazy. It's just a
2
crazy
rounds.
stat line. Yeah, two
6
rounds.
kills in 2
I believe
rounds.
Objective is to locate a bomb.
4K was last round. Then quick 2K for the basement attack. And I do want to highlight, Xylix is not doing it alone. You see a lot of the players on Evergreen creating pressure and creating the perfect environment for them to just frag out. And that is an extremely important element. Going back towards this master bedroom, my criticism last time was I wanted to see a more double-sided sort of approach from Evergreen, where they're applying pressure in multiple areas like they did on these other 2 sites now, trying to go and properly set themselves up.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Ooh, they just stole a Dreadnought mine.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I'm like, oh, was that a Dreadnought? That's a very big pick for
Your clutch
Evergreen,
drone.
and yeah, the clutch drone is definitely coming in clutch right now. But 2 smoke canisters already being utilized before the 2-minute mark. Now that's something that I unfortunately cannot get behind as a previous smoke main. You got to make sure that you are timing those smoke canisters to stop an imminent push and get that chip damage away, especially when there's a shield. That's how you're contending with it. Still a lot of options here. Minute 43, slowest push we've seen from Evergreen thus far. But it seems like it's just a matter of time, as that's the third and final smoke canister being detonated.
Yoshimi will sit side of cash room. You can feel that Evergreen are applying the pressure. Talked about adding variables for entry, diversifying their approach, and I think a lot of that would come off that jacuzzi wall, but I'm just not seeing anything on that side for Evergreen. You have double hard breach. Xylix still has 3. I know you just want to let Xylix off the leash, but as a team captain, you should be telling Xylix to step up to their role here and start setting those up. Put those Selmas off towards jacuzzi and create options. I don't have anything that could deny that breach at all. Not a single hard wall denial tool. It won't matter. They're going guns up and they're hoping that this will be the difference. Lightning Bolt gets a refrag, still at a player disadvantage for Colony. 45 seconds left. Lightning Bolt will take the transition from bedroom off towards vault. This means no one's actively on either site, but it's an attempt through construction, and Lightning Bolt bites the bullet of the PDW, leaving Kazi. In a 1v3 with 30 seconds left, the plant will go down. As they hide within a smoke canister, the Nitro rips and gets 2! Kazi! No time to be scared yet. It's a 1v1 with Xylix. And Xylix sees all through the mirror window, forced to be broken by Kazi. Callout's been made in comms.
10 seconds left.
And Kazi spraying and maybe even so praying, stuck inside elbow, has to hold left click and does it. Xylix can't get the kill. It's Kazi. Great round for Colony. And this master bedroom side is their doghouse. 2 rounds now to their name, more than they ever got on the first map of Chalet.
That Nitro. You gotta be ready for it. You know it's incoming. Spread your players out. Know where your assets are. Big brain play. Definitely shifting the momentum of this game as Colony is staying in it. This is a team that brought Evergreen to 3 maps previously, and they want to show us why. I'm all here for it. Man, oh man.
That has to be comms at the end there, right, for Kazi. Kazi was staring through the breach, and a comm had to be made that they were staring through a mirror window. They were using their own window against them because Kazi was not paying attention to the window at all. And funny enough, whatever teammate made the call out to Kazi that they needed to knife the window, that is exactly the game sense and the understanding of where you are, where your teammates are, and where the enemy possibly is in terms of what you know of in active information and passive information. They're in there. Xylix is in bathroom, using the mirror window and staying silent and waiting for their perfect swing. Breaking that forces Xylix to swing blind and then forces them to take main exit out of master bedroom and off into elbow. And that wins you that round. So whoever made that call out for Kazi, if it was Kazi, which I don't believe it was, based purely on timing and crosshair placement for the time, masterfully done for Colony. That is a great understanding of what's in front of you, and the ability to check through the comms in that moment, Kazi, is beyond impressive. When you're stuck in a 1v1 with a raid boss level difficulty enemy of Xylix in front of you, to be able to, like you said earlier here, Vince, listen to the game with one ear, listen to the comms with the other.
Yeah, astonishing. Attack over towards CC, well underway. Not going to opt to reattempt in the basement, and you know what? I can understand it. I know that you're against it, but it's hard to go against a mentality where you feel so daunted by a basement titan. Perhaps Evergreen's just great at defending.
They did rush them down instantly. I mean, it was a 5v1 60 seconds in, so maybe there's this level of we don't want to see that happen again, and they just don't understand how it happened, in which case, don't play it.
Yeah.
That's the team call out. Good on you, Colony.
Yoshimi first default. That's going to be Luxed, and it is going to be another pinch sort of play closing off through construction. This is where things start to get scary, and it's a lot easier for a team like Evergreen to close things out. This time, however, we do see that 2 Nitros have been selected, and that should make a big difference.
They start planting. They're in on site.
Wow.
Ton. You were in a free plant down, but you've got to rely now on the team. Load it from top of construction into site, through cash, and through all three left. That's that speed we were talking about for the basement that Connie was fearing. They didn't want to face the tempo. They didn't want to face the music. And Evergreen play quite the ditty. They're skipping into sight with not even a bit of hesitation. Yeah, Colony.
Wow.
I don't think the second floor is yours either. You're going to head down to basement. If they can do it on CCTV, they're going to do it at basement as well. You've now got to change up. Because there's not even much to evolve for that round. Evergreen were already into sight before they got the eastern suburb wall open. There was no extension to master bedroom, no one in Logi or construction to deny Evergreen presence. And a simple highway play or a simple construction entry destroys the Colony defense.
I'm just trying to think. Like, I'm replaying it in my mind. Like, it was very well executed by Evergreen, but I think in a prevention versus reaction sort of mindset. And how do you prevent that? The castle
have an extension.
Extension is probably the only way to fix it. But even within the setup that you have, you need to utilize construction. And you need to do your best to cut off angles. You need to make Evergreen feel pressured to not go for any sort of sporadic play, to not pinch you out of your own sight, to not have the freedom. And I also want to talk a little bit about garage. I feel like that was a variable that was, or even a room that was very underutilized in that sort of scenario where if you just camp inside of there, you can burn time by forcing a player to come towards you. If you feel like your gun skill is not where it wants to be, sit yourself in garage, don't expose yourself, and wait for your moment, because I guarantee it will come and you can go and use it to the best of your ability.
I think the crazy part as well for Evergreen is their ability to understand what Colony are thinking at any given moment. Look back to Chalet in the final two rounds. They get beat by Colony off of a pure Solarium take, and Evergreen say, okay, we'll play the same objective twice. But we're not going to play for a Solarium take defense. We're going to play to Ivy. We're going to play to Mezzanine. Because you're going to change your strategy, assuming that we know you're going to go back to Solarium. We're going to read into it. We're going to outread you, and we're going to absolutely turn it on its head, and they did to take that map. They just did the same thing again. They took garage last time, and they almost completely avoided it this time and went full heavy construction. That change up, that speed, that tempo, it's just unexpected. And that element of surprise, it's like a critical hit in a video game. When you get a sneak attack, you deal more damage, and that's exactly what Evergreen are doing.
Team pressure. Xylix doing a great job of immediately getting towards site. Oh, shut down. That's going to turn the round on its head as Colony still a man down. The Yin Candela canisters are going to work wonders as Boxes captures the kills. Cone able to successfully grab the plant. Cosmic from above grabs Chu. And it down. Send out to a 1v1. Low diff contending with it. Has the amplified scope for the DMR, but it's going to be Kazi.
They don't know.
For the opening,
you
right?
downed them, Kazi.
Do they have the time? This can make the whole difference. 13 seconds to figure it out. When do you tap the diffuser?
There it is.
Okay. I can sigh a big sigh of relief there. More than enough time to defuse. Great play from the Colony to secure a 3-3 split. Great use of the Valkyrie cameras, using that information, and most importantly, every single one of those players on the side of the Colony for almost the entirety of that round understood their role and stuck to it. You didn't see off of that quick initial frag from Xylix, you didn't see them go and start all turning their attention there. They understood the role, took a deep breath, slowed it down, and I think that made the difference in the positioning and how they played that round. Great job. And of course, it did come out to another clutch play on the side of the Colony, but it's about setting your team up for that. And that's what we saw happen.
Win's a win. You won't complain how it came to, right? You're just going to be happy that the win came through anyways. I think another big thing was that Xylix made a big mistake. If they pre-fire off towards dirt and they fail to get a kill instantly, they should be stepping back and then swinging the other way towards church. and they continue to spray down. And if your perfect fire isn't perfect, then they're going to be able to swing out, and Blur will be able to get that shot from range. Exactly what happened in Colleen. Get away with shutting down Xylix. They get away with clearing out Secret. A lot of the contention off towards Secret. While there was a secondary player, the Flash was going to make that a no fight anyways, and it's just a matter of making sure you can refrag where necessary for Colony to clap back effectively. Maybe if you brought a Warden, you brought out the Gamer Shades, maybe it could have been something different. Could have had a little bit more success to keep the Flashes or Candelas or anything that's brought out from the attack, you know, in underfoot, I guess I should say. Because Warden is exceptionally powerful, especially when you know that Ying has been left unbanned. Those Gamer Shades are a bit too good. But if you also like shades, or maybe just glasses in general, you can check out another one of the sponsors for HSEL Nationals 2024. It's Oakley. Elevate your gaming experience with the Holbrook, Latch, and Helix Gaming Eyewear Collection, designed with precision and style. Oakley's gaming glasses are engineered to provide ultimate comfort and superior protection against eye strain and fatigue. Experience sharper visuals and reduced glare thanks to Oakley's advanced lens technology. Oakley HSEL Nationals. Big shout out to them for helping it here. My goodness, I actually looked up the gaming eyewear. They actually look really cool. I never heard of it before.
Really?
Yeah, I knew there was like blue blue light glasses and whatnot. I think mine actually have that, but I actually looked at the glasses. They're actually really cool. Let's see if I can put my prescription.
The technology is absolutely amazing, and it does the long hours definitely helps, and it makes it really does help with every single element of your game, and especially when I'm learning or if I'm trying to hyper focus onto one part of my screen. And you'll notice I just got a bigger monitor, so I find myself getting extra close to it. My face is right up against it. If I don't have glasses on, oh man, it's gonna be hurting for the next few days, and I won't be able to focus on something even 5 meters away from me. It's a good investment to be getting. Highly recommend. And Oakley's a brand that I've been recommending as a lifeguard to all of my fellow guards to make sure that you go and grab it, and especially if you're out in public, get yourself some shades. But we have a round to focus on as Evergreen is shifting their focus towards defending and Colony, vice versa on the attacking side, and that's not what you want to be doing, Xylix. You want to be overextending, as it's going to be Colony grabbing the opening frag, and that's exactly what you want to see if you're a fan of Colony, and you're not looking like the underdog anymore.
That's exactly the read Blurs is looking for. I don't know if there's a drone inside Garage. There should be at that point in time. I don't know if there's a drone inside Garage 100% to give that information that Xylix is peeking there. But you would expect it from Xylix anyways. And that's kind of the problem with having that one-man army style player. To have that feral dog you let off the leash, right? They've sort of become a known factor at some point. And it's just a process in the due diligence the attacking team has to do when it comes to Evergreen's defense. They have to go through, just find where Xylix is going to peek, take him down, and then the rest of the round should follow fairly normal past that. You're seeing that here. Yoshimi does eventually go down though, which does even it out to a 4 versus 4. Low diff for the Vector removes Kazi from the engagement, and Lightning Bolt trying to work from bottom of Lounge. Not having a lot of success either, as the Colony side are struggling on the movement forward. Exotic Boxfish takes down one more.
Bring things down to a 3v2. Lightning Bolts and Blurs both stuck in it. Boxfish to take out Blurs. 1v3 for the Thermite.
Kind of time.
Nowhere near. This is where you're just gonna have to try to hold best you can, contend, and oh no! Need a second after that one. Oh, I got some flashbacks. No, that was not fun.
You like Lounge so much, you'll be staying here.
Sorry?
Get knifed in Lounge. You like it so much, you'll be staying here, buddy. Honk, schnoo, me. Too much, I think,
for
Colony was in Lounge.
That was surprisingly close to the sound effect. I'll give you a lot of credit there.
Yeah, I feel like I like my
voice from the soundboard.
You know, I feel like I've been like fighting off a cold for the last 2 weeks, so you know it's a little hard to get up there. Are you a honk schnoo or a honk me guy? That's always the most important question.
Man,
because that was definitely a honk me inside a Lounge. That's the place to be though. It's the most comfortable spot. There's a mini fridge that a lot of players will actually throw Valkyrie cams into. Which is also why you typically see it be checked immediately for Valkyrie cams when attacking teams try to take through secret window and out through secret through Lounge. Overall, that last round is about what you expect. They get first blood. But on the step in through the garage and rafters control, they completely lost the plots, is what I would argue here, right? They take up through rafters. They have control now from rafter window. They can peek into sight, but they couldn't get highway control window. They couldn't get top of red stairs control because you saw Exotic try to go there so long and they failed. I don't know. They lost the plot. Colony start off strong. They failed to close out, and Evergreen go from what was a three-player to 4-player at one point into a 3-player to 1-player. They just win the next gunfights, and it's a pretty simple affair for them. A little bit more from Colony adjusting wise.
10 seconds remaining.
Oh, does look to be a 5v4.
That it does.
You know what? I think they like the challenge. We'll see exactly
Maybe
how
Evergreen-
Evergreen is going to.
You just said we can do it.
Yeah.
We got this. It's not
I'm not
Xylix, so we got
surprised.
this.
It's not low diff either.
That's also important, yeah.
I know we've been talking about Xylix a lot. Low diff has been there and very,
gone,
very
then?
consistent. Sorry?
Why am I blinking? Who was the 5th?
Lux, low diff, Xylix, Lightning's on the other team.
Gladiator?
Ooh.
No, Gladiator's on the other team. Why?
No. It was Lux that played the gridlock. Low diff. I shouldn't be blanking like this.
Tony.
That's awkward. But either way, I want to go and
Tone.
highlight that.
So Ton.
Tone. Yeah, Ton, yes. The hard breach.
Well, your
That's
secondary
a
hard
big
breach.
player. Oh, so yeah. Depended on the site.
Evergreen
2 minutes
really
to
liked
go
to bring
here.
2, though. I think they brought 2 for most rounds.
Yeah. With the minute 55, it's been relatively quiet, and I think Evergreen really knowing they have to slow the pace. I think that's the best thing that could possibly happen. They are dealing with a lot of pressure, both from Jacuzzi as well as from the construction side. And you see you only need to leave one CC being opened. I really like this attack from Colony as it goes and shows off a 2-pronged approach, including going and continuing with the windows. As far as the operators that were selected, you just have your German operators in the form of Jaeger and Bandits. Meanwhile, the Mir and Goyo, there's not really a way to have immediate coverage and contend. Xylix to take out Yoshimi is going to even this out to a 4v4. A quick push from Blurs is going to be able to catch their opponent off guard. Swinging, they're going to be able to find Low Diff. Kazi able to find Exotic. All left up to Xylix and Lux, making their way inside into bathroom. Spraying those Candelas out towards construction. They have a lot of time here. A minute, but they're going to close that all off. Going for a plant inside of Gym. We are going to have Gladiator downed. Blurs might have a chance to go for the res here, but it's going to be confirmed by Lux. We have the player of Lux also able to go and confirm a double kill. Lightning bolts inside of Gym and Kazi over towards Jacuzzi. Both able to find their respective kills. And we're going to get a pause to have our player back in here and fix all of our sound as Tones gets back in here. Xylix playing with my heart. That's what I get for reading his text. I'm going to have to ignore it now. But that was a great round from Colony, and they did a great job of just holding to their man and playing 1-to-1.
Xylix is one of those spots where you can look back at it and say, okay, this double swing in through Logi was not a bad idea. It gave us the frag of the player inside vault. But getting the swing too late, should have trusted your one man out to get the frag first, and you should have gone through construction door instead, Xylix. Just tertiary angles. Set up from 2 sides. Knowing that you're both there and time's already limited, you're going to have to step out from Logi door. You're going to have to step into hallway. And they've got a player out on Jacuzzi balcony who's just going to just hold that position like no other. Great round for Colony, though, to be fair. They knew the win condition. It was to get that diffuser down. It was to then plant up and stack up elsewhere. And those Candelas. You don't bring the Warden Shades. You don't got the Oakleys on. I'm sorry to break it to you. You're going to be in a really big world of pain trying to push the Colony side in the middle of processing that plant. Need to be maybe a little bit wiser about defense or operator selections. I know a lot of people don't want to play Warden because he's pretty passive. But having the Candelas up and even smoke canisters, which are pretty important for a lot of teams. I mean, we even saw Evergreen using it on their attack through Master Bedroom when we saw Kazi get that huge clutch round in the 3v1 where they tossed the Nitro Cell for the 2K, which, by the way, if they didn't get both, would have been a completely different round result, it feels like. But you saw the smoke canister go down. That was important for them. Why aren't Evergreen realizing the same thing could be used for Colony?
5 seconds to go.
It's hard to say. But we're down into basements. And you'll see that Colony have opted to go for a very directional approach. Only hard breach will be the Hibana. Secondary will be the pocket breaches for your Ying. It's another reason why she's so darn good. Having those is ridiculous, as well as the Candelas. So you'll probably place one of those off inside of Moto Hatch, and then you'll need the Hibana to help clear out the dirt tunnel side just to create that pressure, play there initially, and then rotate out of it, and then take the direct in towards site. And maybe utilize... Well, they don't have a sledge, actually. Or an Ash. They're not going to be able to breach main hall floor at all, and that'll give Evergreen the ability to play through stairs and play on the bottom floor fairly safely with not much verticality, which was kind of a big point for Chalet that also wasn't used that much. Is that a high school thing for R6, not using much verticality?
We saw that on Chalet, there was a good bit of verticality. We had Ram taken one round, and we still had that crazy LMG spray through from Xylix when we had that basement site, but looking up verticality, not nearly as much. Oh, no, first round we saw a good bit of looking up verticality where I believe it was Blix that was stuck up top in on Chalet. And there's a buck down below. But yeah, I think we seen good verticality. We could see more, but I don't think it needs to be emphasized. For the armory approach, I do want to see more verticality, though. You're really stressing my memory right now. Now I don't have to go and do any of my little mind games for the day.
Stressing my memory. It's stressing me out, actually, just in general. A lack of verticality in R6 is super odd. Player spotted top of main stairs, and Yoshimi will try to get a swing over there. Hope a wildfire shot will tag somebody. I think Evergreen player on that extension realized that a drone was there and will fall back in accordance. Blur's taking a lot of damage, really from shock. That's why they stemmed, though, just moments prior to make sure that they had that little bit of extra HP and they're not making too big of a sacrifice on this pursuit. And Dirt's totally free. Evergreen have fallen back from here. They have a player sitting on just inside of Armory, and you'd have to expect that this could be a great attempt for Blurs, but they'll have to make their presence known, clearing the barricade first, and that's where they'll see the player and take way too much damage in the process, having now to use a stim to get up to 25, and they'll have to use the last stim as well to get even closer, but thankfully that'll also put Yoshimi back up to 100.
Yeah, interesting interactions happening there inside of Dirt, and this round is flown right by as it's now a 5v3. You wanted verticality. Xylix is there for you, playing all the way up on the second floor. With 22 seconds to go, Yoshimi's going to get a very much needed refrag. He's going to start sprawling towards this site. With the remaining 3 players all being located inside a kitchen, we could start to see a bit of a flash drop. Low Diff taking a little bit of damage, sprayed as they come down. As there's a great play in Low Diff. Calm, cool, and collected will use the Nitro Cell to finish off that final bit of the round as Evergreen regained the lead 5-4.
Really great round for the defense of Evergreen. Just almost in totality denial. A lot of the times when you play an extension or you play to keep them out of a side or even out of a map in a lot of maps where teams typically will try to fight them outside. Like we saw a whole lot of that map was fought way too much on the outside towards Tube, outside towards Dirt. You don't play for total denial. You play for time. You play for the eventual success of them getting in towards site because it's going to happen one way or another. And a lot of teams will make that mistake. They want that mindset of you will never get in towards site when it should be, I will not let you there for at least 2 minutes. Evergreen play into that style saying, I will not let you there for all of it. And usually I expect that to be punished. But they are gunning so darn good, specifically Xylix, who's playing so many different angles in that round. First bullet off screen, I believe he was off closer towards freezer entrance, and then your second one from upstairs through the stair window from upper halls. So many different positions Xylix was playing within on that extension. They were just a thorn constantly in Colony's eye. And if you're so constantly scared about where a single player is, you're never going to be able to stop looking over your shoulder. It's no longer phantom pressure, it's active pressure. And it's a really strong strength of Xylix, both in attack and defense. And it's leading to a whole lot of trouble for Colony as they now rotate in again. They'll have to attack the CCTV side, arguably the most attacker favorite objective on this map, bar your quaternary site, your fourth go-to side of bar, but no one really wants to play that anyways, or bar game, whatever the heck it is called now, bar stage. Gone through a million different variations at this point. This is attacker favorite because it's directly through CCTV wall.
I think that bar site has changed the most of any site in the entire
awful.
game. It's
Yeah, it's
quite
awful.
wild. There's no making it viable. You can attempt to, but not going to happen. Ooh, that's not good. And
Bush is bugged.
unfortunately, the
Couldn't
round.
exit their drone.
Yep, that's a very unfortunate thing to have happen here. 2 minutes 15. We'll see if this slows up or speeds down Colony's approach. They're going to get an equalizing frag potentially as Boxfish is down and does not have a teammate nearby to go and help them up with a revive. It's a little bit slower. I want to see something a little bit quicker. Good to use the flashbangs to go and secure the opening of CC wall.
Oh, I thought that got it.
Oh, unfortunate. I was expecting that should have connected, but I think it just caught the wrong angle. Boxfish still on rafters, bleeding out as you're gonna have Tone having a chance to go for the revive, and CC's been completely left open. That's exactly what you normally have happen. CC open and a bit of phantom pressure as no one even needs to go and cover it. Great job from Colony thus far. I'm not going to count them out of it. They just need to go and secure frag and start to put immediate, impactful pressure towards this site now.
I talked about the OSA shields. I'm going to say it as a caster. It's our favorite thing when something we say comes true. Who else? We see the game way more than anybody else, to be fair. Kind of expected. OSA shield on construction window. Highway is Colony's win condition, and they know it. They want to put a player watching that CCTV window inside. They want to put a player there safely, which means they also need to block that construction window. OSA shield, job's a good one. And now the rest of the team can start to parlay themselves forward in different directions. As a Frostmat, I believe, does tap down one. It'll be finished off quite quickly. And a second kill came nearly instantly afterwards. Ton in a 1v1, quickly made 2v1. Lux closes in for Yoshimi. That's just a round for Evergreen Valley. Colony were kind of expecting it. They were losing Blur right at the very beginning off of a bug. R6 is a perfect esport, let's be totally honest. It is what it is. That puts Evergreen now at match and series point for our second map of the day. And a much closer affair. Colony have come into this map and they've given it everything and they look really darn good on it.
I got to give Colony a lot of credit. I've liked a lot of the things that they're bringing to the table here on Club. They're making little micro adaptations that I'm looking for. You even mentioned that OSA shield. They're doing things right, and it's just about that final layer, that committing at the very end of a round and connecting on those frags. I think that as you went for the push into master bedroom where you weren't droning for those frost mats, it's getting a little bit sloppier with your time, but I got to give you a big pass there. You were a player down and you made do where you could. Evergreen staying strong as always, and they did show a little bit of faulting, a little bit of a flutter throughout this matchup as the Colony really picked it up. And I really want to highlight Low Dift as they've been very consistent, as well as Tone. 10 kills after missing. It's very all around. Where even Boxfish, although they are lagging behind on the frags department, they've done a great job in providing information and utility towards their team. And I'm very happy with the sort of chemistry that we're seeing from Evergreen. I'm really looking forward to see how they can progress it into this, what could be final round.
3 minutes officially on the clock. And Zayden, we've had a ridiculously good series. Yes, it was 7-1 for Evergreen, but they showed us a dang good game, let's be honest. And now Colony came in with intent, with purpose. A couple Mars on their record now put Evergreen at match and series point, but they're not too far behind. Can the next 30 seconds of this prep phase for Colony change the game? As that is so darn funny. The timing for Yoshimi getting that down. And Xylix being right there for it as well. Unbelievable.
Reloading. Cover me.
But there's nothing Xylix can do there. He's just going to tease and taunt Yoshimi through that window. A bit of dancing in front of it. But that's why you've got a Rafters player, and Xylix realizes there's no intent behind the player. They could repel and peek above the shield. That must mean there's someone on Rafters. The ability to read the scenario is perfect for Xylix. Down goes Blurs. Not yet finished. You might as well be. Because there is no one there to save him. And it's a first blood for Evergreen. Oh, that could be dangerous. Oh, that's just that Xylix is unbelievable.
1, 2, 3. Xylix. Oh my goodness.
Huge moment of silence for Xylix. That's just in
I'm
an
sorry.
engagement like that, knowing what you have available. This is a high schooler
Xylix.
that is going to be very scary on the right team. And there are very few teams, I'll be brutally honest with you, Xylix, there are very few teams that will be able to feed you like this, that will be able to give you the chance to go off like this, because they're going to have set in stone strategies. They're not going to have players like that already. But when you find that team, they will let you eat, and it will be an all-you-can-eat buffet every single time. What a great game for Evergreen High, and a very good series. Unfortunately, that does mean there is a loss for one side over the other, and it is Colony who unfortunately have to take that L today. But they did a really darn good map too, and a very well-deserved chance, and a big round of applause for them.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of their ability to progress, Scott, and they did a great job of, with every single round, learning from their mistakes and getting better. And Chalet clearly was just not their map in the first one, but Club was a completely different story, and continuing with a positive mindset and continuing to be reactive and understanding your role in every single round is going to be pivotal for that roster. But I'm really happy with Evergreen. Xylix, you know me, I don't know when to shut up. A moment of silence was needed in that final round. With all the pressure that was mounting to that very point, Xylix knew exactly what was needed.
Yeah.
It was a great job, a great ability to go and utilize the Osa shield, because it's not a mirror. You can look through it both ways, and you can imagine the amount of information that was being fed towards the other team. You can look at it as, why have they not peeked me? Because someone's coming from rafters. Beautiful call. There's so many things I can talk about on this team and the way that they're meshing together. Xylix having the ability to work within their team and to work as a cog. They're not just working by going right to him. They're working through him. And that's exactly what you need in Rainbow Six Siege. And I'm all here for it. Man, oh man, what a show force.
Yeah, it's an impressive team. It's an impressive set of players. It's an impressive game of individuals half the time for that. Because you can win as a team and you can win as a person. And the team gives you the chance to step on that platform. They're still involved just as much as you were. It feels like half the time. But that is just a display of excellence from Evergreen. Xylix, a very well-deserved last round for them to just give us the icing on the proverbial cake that was that series as a whole. And a big round of applause again to Colony, because that map too was so good, so impressive in comparison to Chalet. Y'all got the bad end of the stick in that first half, being stuck on the defense against a team that is clicking heads like no other. And then on this one, you got your chance to shine, and you did. But that second half, Evergreen knew it had to be done. They had to put you out, and they had to make sure the victory was secured for themselves. We'll have a little bit of a shout out before we go into an interview. Actually, no interview. So that'll give me time to do a perfect shout out. You talk about being able to talk about these players. We talk about the in-game leader aspects. We talk about the ability to yap, essentially, if you want to get into the younger terms again, right? These players need to be able to talk. They need to be able to communicate with their team. And I've had a lot of people come up to me and ask me before, how do you get into esports if you can't play? These players can play, but if you can play, imagine what you're going to do when you retire from gaming from like that, and you want to step in esports and stay in esports still because you love the environment. You do what we do. We were probably gamers at one point here, Zayden. We're not really that good at it anymore, so we got to step into the booth. We got to step into the booth and that's what we do. We get we stay in esports and involved because we use our talking communication skills, and that's where you can step in from great supplied routes here for HSEL. It's our shoutcasting fundamentals, ignite student potential with gaming concepts, shoutcasting, aligned with national broadcasting, arts, AV technology and communications, CTE standards. Lessons cover what shoutcasting entails, career pathways, storytelling, technical skills, the media impact and broadcast production side, and even the economic factors, because esports is pretty all over the place when it comes to that. Empower your students to explore journalism from a bold and new perspective. Check out gaming concepts, shoutcasting on gamingconcepts.gt today. Make sure you check that out, because I think we both stepped into it fairly blind. Having that for the students and creating a next level of shoutcasters is absolutely the best thing, because I can teach somebody who can't talk well to talk, but I can't teach somebody what they don't already know, right? And gamers, they know. They love the game. They live the game. They're going to know exactly what they want to say and what they need to say. Sometimes you got to work on those speaking skills. Get them in front of a mirror, talk to themselves, and just work on that through it. And you've even taken it even further than just esports here, Zayden. You've stepped into actual I won't say actual, but other real, physical
I
sport
call it
production
live
as
sports.
well.
Live sports, yeah. We
There you
have
go.
our esports, and you got live sports. And for me, it's a really cool step. If you look at where I'm at, I'm at my university's campus radio, and through that, I was able to get involved with football. But that's not my roots. My roots are right here, Rainbow Six Siege Esports. I started on console, met the right person, transferred over to PC, and I can go on this long-winded, winded journey of how I got to here. But casting for Rainbow Six, going and doing any production for esports is where it all started for me. And to have a route, that is your in. If you're looking at live sports and you're looking for an in, something you can do right away, get involved with this esports community, because it's one that has allowed me to meet so many wonderful people. Man, oh man, I love it. You got to get involved, and it leads to so many more opportunities. If you're looking to live sports, it's all about starting somewhere. Don't wait, get involved.
And it gives your students absolutely everything. I'm going to be honest with you. I tell it to every university that hires me for a broadcast or for an event, for a LAN, the number one way to create an esports community and to create from a passion club into a program is your broadcast. You want to be the Boise. You want to be the Bay State, right? They got in very early and they created the broadcast, and that's where you watched esports for collegiate. They got it early, and now they're set into their, they don't have to worry about anything else. You need to do the same thing at every university level, and giving these kids that ability to do that sets them up to either start it themselves or step into these programs where they have it exist. It's just another level for scholarships. Empower your students, empower your school, and explore what it can offer you. Thank you very much, though, for watching. That's all we have here for the HSEL Nationals today. This weekend, though, 2 games a day leading up into Sunday's final. My goodness, I'm excited for this one, Bink. Stay tuned for more. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back tomorrow.
People love Generation Esports. As the world of esports continues to grow, whether you're a teacher, student, or coach, Generation Esports is here to deliver solutions for any of your gaming-based interests. Our services work together, from competitive opportunities with scholarships to our innovative gaming concepts curriculum. We aim to give schools a premium experience inside and outside of the classroom. But don't take our word for it. Hear it from our community.
All of these different types of kids can come together and they work together, and it's just so fun to see them winning together.
A lot of our students are looking for different things to get involved in, and what better way to get involved in something like esports.
We've had the privilege of getting to implement gaming concepts into the curriculum just this past semester. There's the competitive side of things, there's the content creation, there's the hardware, there's the business side of things that's on there. There's something for everyone.
Esports is definitely the period to look forward to every day.
Esports has really changed it, where students are now able to, who might have just got home and not had something to do, now they can stay after school, they can be engaged in something that makes them motivated to come to school.
I've been teaching the gaming concepts class here at Lyons High School this semester. The kids have responded really well to the curriculum. HSEL has provided invaluable opportunities for our students. They can compete in national esports leagues and tournaments, learn about esports careers and opportunities, and it's helped our club expand and grow. Esports is sometimes the one thing that keeps students engaged in school that would otherwise skip school or not do homework. Esports is still a new frontier, but you don't have to venture out alone. The Generation Esports team is here to deliver the perfect blend of education and competition. Schedule a call today to find out how we can bring the power of gaming to your classroom.
I learn a lot from the kids. I kind of let them run things. I let them set their own captains and set their own practice schedules, and I will check in periodically to see how they're doing, to offer guidance and ideas. I'm Brandon Bishop. I'm an educator, first and foremost. I'm a teacher. I teach social studies, history. As a kid, I grew up with like the console wars, so like PlayStation 2, we got one for Christmas, and that's kind of how I got into gaming. So yeah, I think the biggest skill that gaming can teach, especially with this at this level, is communication and cooperation. Watching the kids play and communicate, I learn a lot more, and so I can kind of see what things are working for them, what things don't. These kids are playing games on their own all the time, and they spend a lot of time on it. So I want them to harness that and turn it to something that can be used for like school pride. Like, look at these cool jerseys you can get. You win a game and you get on the morning announcements. They say your name and say you guys are winning, and the school gets to learn about your accomplishments. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for inviting us down. I think we had some kids that were on the fence about being in the esports club, but getting them here, getting them to wear the school uniform, getting them to see what the company is like, I think that's going to spread. When they go back to school, they're going to talk to their friends. So this is a great opportunity. So you should definitely continue to do stuff like this, invite schools down to see firsthand what the benefits can be.
Hello, educators. Welcome back. Are you ready to take your scholastic gaming to the next level? Because we are. We know you've been loving the Gaming Concepts curriculum, but don't worry, that amazing content isn't going away, just moving. Starting this fall, we'll be transferring your Gaming Concepts learning experience to our brand new US-based platform, Blueprint. But what's Blueprint all about? Blueprint is a cut above the average learning software. It's packing some serious upgrades. The interface is user-friendly, so you won't have to spend ages figuring it out. The platform also has robust security measures to make sure that your important data stays safe. It's also the exclusive provider of the Gaming Concepts curriculum. Plus, we're making the migration process super smooth. Clear instructions and support will be right at your fingertips. But wait, there's more. Blueprint is a living platform. That means you'll get regular updates and fresh, new content to keep your esports curriculum at the cutting edge. We'll be making continuous improvements based on user feedback and emerging best practices to help educators stay ahead of the game. Blueprint will also house a library of free curriculum materials, which you can use to expand your own knowledge and share your passion for esports education with others. Blueprint is a game changer for educators, a platform focused on enhancing student engagement, motivation, and ultimately, academic success. This powerful platform is designed to make teaching easier, more collaborative, and way more exciting. So what are the next steps? Change can be scary, but don't worry, you're not flying solo. Generation Esports is going to be with you every step of the way to ensure a smooth transition. So keep an eye out for emails from the Generation Esports team, featuring upcoming training videos to get you familiar with the platform, and info on how to access Blueprint. Finally, be sure to share this video with your fellow Gaming Concepts educators, and get ready for an amazing fall semester, brought to you by Blueprint.